Hello everyone, my name is Roger Goossens. I'm the Vice President of Value Chain Planning Applications. Today I'm here to talk to you about the Value Chain Planning solution, some recent developments, as well as some directions as to where we're going. Most of our customers pick new planning systems because they have to deal with the new reality of the new economy. There is a lot of uncertainty that's here to stay, and it drives the need for innovation and moving away from the old systems that they're having today. While doing so, they typically focus on 4 areas. The first one is about growing their business. The second one is about becoming more responsive in their supply chain. The third one is about exceeding business performance. And the fourth one is really providing the right tools to the planners and the managers and empowering them to make the right decisions. For that, we have a very comprehensive solution that we refer to as Oracle Value Chain Planning. It's built on a very modern platform. It's highly componentized, so you can start anywhere and move to anywhere else. It's based on best industry practices and has a lot of industry-specific capabilities, and it allows you to deploy it in a very flexible way. What is key about value chain planning is that it provides the answers to the questions that you're looking for. For some customers, that means they're just trying to put in a better foundation. For others, it means they need to react to all kinds of ad hoc events that are happening intraday, and they need a solution for that. So let me talk a little bit about those 4 key areas that our customers typically focus on. The first one is about growing the business, which is all about sensing the demand closer to the point of consumption and shaping it for profit. So bring all the demand signals together, make sure that you apply better statistics to get to improve forecast accuracy, and then as you have that all figured out, use techniques around demand shaping such as promotion planning and new product introductions to improve the overall demand picture. The next one is really about improving the overall agility in your supply chain, and in doing so, we always recommend that customers do not look just at the long-term aspect in terms of designing their network for agility, but also looking at it from a midterm perspective, and which basically means reducing the overall planning cycle time, run fewer plans, and the third one is obviously be more agile when you're responding to very short-term problems, which all is about simulation, improving shop floor throughput, etc. The third one is basically exceeding business performance, and we think that exceeding business performance can only happen when you deploy a continuous S&OP process. A lot of our customers, they don't have an S&OP process, or they maybe do it on spreadsheet. It's not shared with all the managers out there, and we think that a more sophisticated process that allows you to bring all the constituents together, have sales, marketing, operations, and finance all work together is a better way to go, and to also then operate the process based on shared metrics that you want to accomplish, growth that you want to accomplish, and deploying that in a continuous way. The last one is really about providing the planners and their managers and even other key executives with the right tools to make the planning decisions, as well as to extend the planning scope to include collaboration with key trading partners, because they can obviously help you to become more agile and overall reduce your planning cycle time. For those customers that do one or more of these, we've seen that they've accomplished some great results, as you can see on this slide here. It varies for different customers, but these are some good metrics that we've seen across the board, and we're very happy about that, obviously. For this session, I want to focus on 5 key things. 1, the importance of upgrading. 2nd, the speed of decision making and how that translates into becoming more responsive. The 3rd one is best practices for industries, highlight a few key new features that we've implemented in our software for our customers to make them have a better fit with our software for their particular industry. The 4th one is enhancements we've done on the planning analytics side and how that can help drive better decisions that are driven by the metrics. And the 5th one I'll talk about is the continued innovation that we do with our software and our development, and talk a little bit about what's coming next. So let's first talk about the importance of upgrading. We always talk a lot to our customers about upgrading. It's very important that customers get to later releases, because as part of those releases, we offer a lot of new capabilities that really translate in getting a lot of business benefits. So customers that tend to stay on the older releases, they cannot take advantage of these new capabilities and hence not get to these new business benefits in the way they should. So we encourage a lot of the upgrades to be done very quickly. We've enabled a lot of the deployment and upgrade capabilities to be a lot easier in the later releases after 12.2. So we feel that moving forward really translates into a lot of business benefits. And I'll talk about a few of those next. For example, we've invested a lot of enhancements in planner productivity area. We overhauled the UI. We did a lot of capabilities in mobile areas. We made sure that planners can access it in a much more integrated way than previously, and those were some examples of planner productivity. We added a lot of industry-specific features, which I'll talk about in a minute. As well as we improved the overall deployment of the solution. We created some great new tools in the mantra that make upgrades much easier. These were some of the #1 things asked for by our customers. As part of the 12.2 upgrade, we make sure that we have a common middle tier with WebLogic Server. And also for those customers that are running JD Edwards as the backend, we've done a lot of integration enhancements, and one of the key ones that they asked for was global order promising integration to JD Edwards Order Management, which we also released. Lastly, we included a lot of enhancements to integrate the mantra with the analytics piece, which generally is known as our Advanced Planning Command Center application. So not only did we integrate demand management, we also enhanced the integration to support trade management, bringing over custom measures and hierarchies from the mantra. And lastly, we also enhanced the analytics to go a level deeper than the summary levels that we have today, and I'll talk about that later. One example of improved usability is really the UI overhaul that we've done across the board. You're seeing some examples of this here. So we overhauled the mantra UI, created a new calendar view object for the promotions planners, and the same way on the supply planning side, we did a lot of new stuff to make the screens not only easier to navigate and access, but also more productive for the planners by adding in new capabilities. The other thing that we started with a long time ago for us in 12.138 was to make our tools run on the mobile platforms like iOS. And we added a lot of new support in 12.139 for ASCP. And obviously, we continue to develop that out, and we're trying to do more and more in this area as we realize that planners are sometimes more productive when they're on the road and meeting with their suppliers and our customers. The latest release, 12.2.4, that we released in August 2014, had a lot of really great new capabilities. A lot of them, most of them were actually driven by our customers, who we work with very closely. We did a lot of enhancements in the analytics area, improved a lot of the core supply chain planning capabilities, which most of our customers use today. We took care of the #1 enhancement in production scheduling, the synchronous make pack capability that a lot of you asked for. We also enhanced rapid planning so that you can operate it more like a backlog management tool rather than just only running it in online simulation mode. Did a lot of enhancements to service parts planning and included a new initiative for simplified asset-intensive planning, which I'll get to in a minute. We also enhanced the promotion planning and the mantra deployment pieces. Obviously, as in any release, we included a lot of front ports, but significance of 12.2.4 is that it brings parity with the VCP 12.139 and the mantra 7.3.1.5 releases for front porting the in-memory products, which I'll talk about later too. So let me get to the next topic. I talked about the importance of upgrading so that you can take these new features and use them to get new business benefits. One of the perks of upgrading is that you could potentially enable the value chain planning in-memory processing capabilities, which is all about the speed of decision making and making you more responsive. The problem of becoming more responsive is a complex one to solve. The typical problem that we run into is about the need to reduce the overall planning cycle time. People want to run many plans, larger plans in a shorter time window. They want to combine plans to a single plan maybe over time. They want to maybe move to intraday planning. So these are a lot of demands that the business has on IT, and they're not always very hard to solve. So we took a step back, actually I should say a giant step forward, and we looked at the end-to-end planning cycle time, all the processes that run from the moment that you start collecting data from your back-end ERP all the way to analyzing that data maybe on the analytics side. And there's obviously a lot of steps in between that move a lot of data, calculate a lot of data. And so we wanted to really have a solution that was somewhat groundbreaking to change the end-to-end performance. And the way we did this is by enabling 2 new applications that run on the engineered systems that are available as of VCP 12.139 release, as well as 12.2.4 now. The first one is in-memory performance-driven planning. In-memory performance-driven planning is all about accelerating that end-to-end planning cycle time that I just showed, as well as to add new performance metrics that typically operate on higher volume data and need a more powerful hardware to render. The second application is in-memory consumption-driven planning. In-memory consumption-driven planning is the mantra side of the house that provides significant performance enhancements for the overall mantra applications, as well as a very key new capability to utilize high-volume point-of-sales consumption data to compute sell-in forecast and create global demand plans, as well as single SLR daily store level replenishment. Typically, that type of application, you'll see hundreds of millions of records that need to be processed once or twice a day very quickly to drive the replenishment. And so this application was really tailor-made to that new platform and leveraging the new in-memory processing capability that Oracle now brings to market that customers can start leveraging as part of their upgrade path. Now, to put some benchmarks behind these statements, we thought we were very impressed when we were running these benchmarks, and in some cases we didn't even believe that we could get that fast. So let me run you through a couple of examples. The first one is on the mantra predictive trade planning side. One of the key aspects that you do is analyzing the promotion accounts, sorry, I'm going to restart over. The first one I want to highlight to you is a benchmark that we did for the mantra predictive trade planning, and one of the key aspects in that process is analyzing the promotion effectiveness and promotion spend. Typically, you'll see a very high volume amount of data that needs to come together in very large worksheets. In a lot of cases, our customers had to run those in batch, and they were running up to 1,100 seconds to produce the measures and the sheet itself. After we applied the in-memory processing capabilities, we were able to bring that down to 11 seconds, so more than 100 improvement on a very large data set. So this actually means for the category and account managers that rather than waiting for a worksheet to compile in the background in batch mode, they can now really do that work online, and that's obviously a huge benefit for them. The next one that I'll talk about is advanced supply chain planning, which most of our customers use and actually start off with. There we deal with often with very massive data processing and in-memory calculations. We collect a lot of data, we flush a lot of data back into the database, and it's all about doing that as fast as possible, because every time that the plans are running, the planner really can't do much on the system because he's waiting for the results to show up. So the faster we do that, the better it is. And for some customers, it's obviously very critical as they want to move from batch overnight planning into intraday planning that we run those plans as fast as possible, even when the volumes are increasing. So the times you see here, the before time of a customer data set that we used was really a plan that ran a very large data set for about 6 hours, and with the in-memory processing capabilities, we will actually be able to bring that back to under an hour and a half, which really means that this type of customer could really change its paradigm and go for intraday type of planning and promising multiple times a day on their shipments and be able to fulfill that. The last one I'll cover is planning analytics. We're talking a lot about planning analytics today. It's actually one of the areas that is most actively used by our customers. They want to turn that on to provide good visibility of what planning generates to not just the planners, but also to other key executives and managers. Key here is that you don't want to wait too long for those results to be available. For very large data sets, we saw that the ETL process that we are running after running the plan could take up to 3.5 hours or more. With the in-memory processing capabilities, we were able to bring that down to 2 minutes. So now you can really start thinking about planners sharing the business metrics almost in real time with their analysts or the VPs of supply chain, which obviously improves the agility and overall decision-making paradigm at companies dramatically. So these were some examples of benchmarks that we accomplished with these new in-memory processing capabilities, which again are comprised out of the engineered systems, the in-memory database, and then the in-memory applications from value chain planning. So as part of upgrading, I also talked about key new capabilities that we released for several of our key industries. Over the years, we've done a lot for all the various industries, whether you're in high-tech or whether you're in pharmaceuticals or whether you're in process or retail distribution. We've added a lot of features over the years to make the tools fit the best business practices that you want to deploy. And some of the recent things that we did were really addressing some key features that our customer thought were very important. One of them is production scheduling, synchronous make-back. Another one is to address shelf life and warehouse capacity constraints during supply planning and distribution planning. And then I'll also talk in a minute about 2 new initiatives that we did for asset intensive and for the project-driven supply chain. One of the key new capabilities that we released in 12.2.4 is the integration between e-business suite, enterprise asset management, and service parts planning on the value chain planning side. We refer to that as simplified asset planning. Think of this as customers who plan maintenance work orders and need to get their components for that maintenance via repair or new buys or transfers from other facilities to be replenished, as well as to try and predict that by deriving returns forecasts for rebuildable items and use things like repair yield to try and predict that. So if you're an EAM user on the EBS side and you really are interested in having better planning capabilities, then this new capability that we embedded in service parts planning would be a good one for you to look at. The other one that we released in 12.2.4.1, which actually just came out in November, is the project-driven supply chain initiative. This is basically about bringing the world of the project managers and the material planners together. They often have very conflicting objectives. But by sharing the information between them, we think that they'll be in a better position to make decisions around the materials that impact a project delivery. So this is really about integrating supply chain planning and Primavera via the Primavera Gateway. To illustrate what this Primavera supply chain planning integration does, I'll let Scott come up and do a small demonstration.
Thanks, Roger. So hello, everybody. My name is Scott Malcolm. Roger talked to you a little bit about how we've recently brought together project planning with the supply chain planning. And you have to think that for many of our customers, there's somebody managing a big project, somebody managing the manufacturing and procurement that actually drive deliverables that go into that project, and there isn't a whole lot of connection between that. So a lot of phone calls and emails go back and forth. So let's look at how we can now more seamlessly move that information back and forth so we can actually see the implications of things going on in the supply chain as it impacts those projects and deliverables. So let's take a look at the demo. Okay, so here we're looking in Primavera at the way a project manager typically sees things. So we see a couple of projects that we want to take a look at, and if I drill into this, I can actually go in and look at the specific activities, and I find out that inside this project is something that we actually have to produce. So I have to produce an aircraft engine. And as I drill into this, I can see there's a specific deliverable that needs to happen at a certain point in time in order for my overall project to stay together. So what I can do now is, if I transfer this over to the supply chain, I can actually run through a supply chain plan that blows through the manufacturing, the bill of material and the routing for that, comes up with all of the critical subcomponents and activities that need to happen, and see when there's any kind of exception. So here for those projects, I can look by project at what things might be holding that up. So now I can send that back over to project manufacturing. And now when I look at that project, I can see all of the specific tasks, and more importantly, I can identify any tasks or deliverables that are going to be later than the overall delivery date that I needed for that project. So now the project manager has good information to tell them when they actually need to take action to keep that project on schedule, or understand when it may impact progress billing or things like that. So back to you, Roger.
Thanks, Scott. Let's go to the next topic. We talked a lot about analytics today, and one of the things I want to highlight is all the new developments that we did in the planning analytics area. We think that if you're informed better and make decisions driven by metrics, that overall you can exceed and accelerate your business performance. So we think that's something that everyone should look at right from the start. We make that starting point very easy. We've seeded a lot of key dashboards and a lot of reports to enable you to start off with supply plan analysis, run your S&OP process, look at supply chain risk and agility, as well as when you're running service, look at your service parts, plan analysis and performance. So we give you a very good starting point that you can turn on the moment you've installed it. And then at some point in time, you can obviously tweak that to your own likings and your own needs. In 12.2, we added a lot of new capabilities on the Mantra side, and in 12.4, we are completing that by integrating the trade planning analysis into the Advanced Planning Command Center. Trade planning analysis in the Command Center is all about analyzing the promotion effectiveness, analyzing the lift decomposition, looking at the top and bottom promotion performers, as well as drill down to the nitty-gritty details that you would want to see on the trade promotions. And keep in mind, even though the account and category managers could do this today in the Mantra, in the worksheets, that information was not as easy to access combined with all the other information, which you might want to do as part of your S&OP analysis, to other managers in the company. The other thing we added in 12.4.1, which is available now, was one of the key things that our customers kept asking us about, which is very detailed supply analysis in the Command Center. So we enabled a new analyzed bill plan to drill down into the order details, the exception details, as well as the pegging details, which previously you weren't able to do. And by allowing you to run this type of analysis and to bring in additional attributes from the source system, you can be way more effective within a central point to analyze how the plan output came together and why you're seeing what you're seeing. And next, we'll let Scott come back up again and do another demonstration.
Thanks, Roger. So now what we want to take a look at, Roger talked about how much focus we've put on analytics, really about empowering planners and giving all of the decision makers in your business better information to make better decisions. So let's take a look at how some of these newer pieces have really allowed us to really provide end-to-end information across your value chain. What I'm going to do is just skim through various parts of the supply chain, see how all of this comes together, and talk about how some of those new pieces come into play. So for example, maybe I'm starting off my sales and operations planning cycle. I see that I have an issue where my expected forecast and what I can ship is not going to quite meet my financial targets. One of the ways that I could focus on doing that is try to see if there's something I can do from a promotional standpoint to try to shape my demand. So now with the new trade analyst dashboard, I can drill into, for example, give the demand planners the task to try to increase the forecast. I can look and see exactly what kind of lift that I've gotten from doing various types of promotions. I can look at which promotions have been most profitable or have driven the most incremental value. So if I'm trying to drive the overall revenue or drive my profitability, understand which are the most effective types of promotions to run. I can see what are the top or bottom performers in terms of metrics that I'm trying to drive, all the way down to seeing the very detailed information about the specific promotions that I've run and what I might want to try to do. And maybe most importantly, not just look at what was the incremental shipment revenue that I drove, but how much of that was truly incremental to my business. Because if I'm just driving promotional activity towards things that are moving stuff around in time versus actually driving incremental long-term growth to my company, maybe those aren't the most profitable. Now, based on that, now I can come up with my new promotion plan. And then as I run back to my sales and operations planning process, that becomes a scenario that I can now evaluate to see, now I've come up with a new adjusted forecast that's allowed me to increase my forecast and now meet my revenue targets, but I still have a little bit of an issue in that I haven't quite run this through the supply process. So we'll move on to the supply planning process, where here I can see, based on that increased forecast, my supply chain isn't quite ready for that. So again, we can take this not only from the high-level executive view, but down to into the planners that are actually working to try to resolve this process. So we'll switch to a supply view. And to highlight a little bit about what Roger said, we've really made this the ubiquitous point of entry. So not only can I see the analysis of here's where I was, the increased forecast has caused an additional problem in my ability to meet fill rates, but I can also drill specifically down to right down into the details and even where I do my work. So here I can actually get to a horizontal view where I can actually make edits to try to level my production line, or I can make edits to my capacity availability to simulate if I was to work overtime to try to resolve this problem. So now if I return up, I can also drill down into specific details. So from a high level, now we're drilling down into a specific product that has a problem. What are the components driving that problem? And all the way down into specific orders that I might want to take action to. So this is not just for high-level analysis, but now we can actually get down into the details where I might want to work. So now if I just go back, I can now see that I've made some adjustments to my supply plan, and I've come up with something that has a more acceptable fill rate and will actually put me slightly above my financial targets. So we've given you a little bit of a sense of how this helps not only with the high-level analysis to provide executive decision makers information at the sales and operations planning level, but also working on the exact same information, how the planners actually make the decisions that then drive those business results. So back to you, Roger.
Thanks, Scott, for doing that presentation. The last thing I want to talk about, my topic number 5, is the continued innovation. So I talked a lot about capabilities that a lot of you have not deployed today, so that is already like a direction that you should take and take a look at. But there's more things that we're doing beyond that. This is the comprehensive slide that indicates some of the capabilities that we've already just released in the 0 to 12 month cycle, and some of the things we're still working on for 12.2.5. As you can see, it's good capabilities across the board. And then beyond that, we have some great ideas on some other things that we want to do, often driven by you as a customer, and we'll hope to get to these as quickly as possible. One of the key things that we're going to focus on is the continued improvement of planner productivity by providing them with better planning workbenches and a better user interface to work with. So think of this as customizable workspaces and plan summaries, value-based dimensional analysis, more comprehensive resource utilization and slotting views, as well as better pegging capabilities to analyze, how the supply packs up to the demand and why you're seeing things that you maybe weren't expecting. Before we depart, I want to highlight an upcoming event that has become a very large event and very important for us. which is the Oracle Value Chain Summit. That'll be done from January 26th through 28th in 2015 at the San Jose Convention Center. I encourage you to come out there in force and look at the latest, greatest capabilities that we'll have at that point in time and get another update on value chain planning, its roadmap and directions. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you tuning in.